Good morning, beloveds. I'm struggling with camera angle this morning. Something is different and I don't know what. Oh well. It doesn't matter. The background is going to change for a week. My brother has probably already been on the road for about 2.5 hours. He will be here. And the room that I used to stream every day is his. It's the guest room, but we don't call it the guest room. We call it Gary's room because Gary's just about the only guest that stays in here. So the cats are a little weirded out. And the good thing is the temperature's dropped into the mid-50s. So that'll be all good. All right. Today, I believe it is October 29th. Yes, it is October 29th. All right, October 29th. I am the mind of God in action, therefore I produce only good. To this end I was born, and for this I came. I'm trying this over again. The Bible quote is what I'm trying again. To this end I was born, and for this came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. John 18:37. All right. The nature of man is the nature of God, for there cannot be two. There can only be one. One mind, one law, one life, and we are expressing it because we are the creation of it. As we begin to think of ourselves in heavenly terms, a new possibility arises within us. We see that our present mind is God's outlet. We become aware of a divine destiny for each of us, an eternal impulse within us to think rightly and well. We begin to speak as God would speak and to think as God would think. There is only one mind, and that mind is our mind now. The mind we are using to read this page is God's mind, and we are its activity. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. Knowing this, we understand why all thought is creative, and we dedicate our thinking to right ideas. We are known by our works, and our works betray our thoughts. Therefore, we must think as the divine mind thinks. There is only one mind, God, and that mind is my mind now. This mind is thinking through me today, and all my thoughts are creative. Producing under the law whatever I select to think. I choose with joy to think the thoughts of the infinite mind. I let larger and more loving ideas of God be the basis of all my mental work. All limitation is now destroyed from my consciousness, for God's mind thinks in me and through me producing good. I see God everywhere and in all people. I think rightly, love greatly, and bring forth new good in myself and in all whom I meet this day. All right. Consciousness. That is what he's talking about today, or they. It's Raymond and Ernest. What they're talking about today is consciousness. About the recognition of who we are, and the recognition of where we came from, and the recognition of whose mind we are using, because every thought is creative. Now, is it creative is every thought the same degree of creative? No. That's where we get the thought wrapped in feeling, because the more emotion that we have wrapped around a thought, the more creative that thought is going to be, which should give us pause when we're angry, because that is a whole lot of emotion. And if we channel our anger righteously, which means to the good, then that's fantastic. But if we don't channel our anger, is what I'm going to say, those thoughts are still creative. So what Ernest and Raymond are reminding us today is that we are literally God in action. We are divine sparks or divine splinters. I like to use splinter because it gives me it gives me perspective on how big God is and how small I am. But the point is that I'm still part of God. And everything that God is, I have access to. So we all have access to God all the time. Do we're so small. We are so small in the breadth of God that we have access to all of it, but we can't do it all at once. And that's what makes us different from God. So it's about remembering that the mind that we are using was created by God, of God. So it's still literally God's mind. And then we stop and think, well, what have I been doing with God's mind? Which reminds me of the may you get what you deserve, which is both a blessing and a curse. And it really talks to your consciousness as to how you take it when somebody says that, may you get what you deserve. And when somebody says it, do you go, yes, I'm going to get what I deserve? Or do you go, oh my God, I'm going to get what I deserve? Well, then you're going to check your head. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You are using God's mind. Are you using it well? And if you are conscious that you are using God's mind, that already puts you one step up on using it well than the person who is not conscious that they are using God's mind. So it comes down to consciousness. Are we conscious of who we are? Are we conscious of the mind that we are using? Are we conscious of the thoughts that we are thinking with that mind? It was created by God, of God, for God. And he uses that terrifying phrase in here. Where is it? Divine destiny. Divine destiny. We become aware of a divine destiny for each of us, an eternal, but then he follows it up with an internal impulse. Because divine destiny is like, oh my God, my path is laid out for me. I have no choices. That's not the way this works. That's not the way this works. Your divine destiny is to be authentically who you are. That's it. That's it. You are here to experience and to learn and to love and to laugh and to do all of that. It's not some grand, climb to the top of the mountain, whatever. Destiny. That's not what, when he talks about divine destiny, he's talking about knowing who you are and authentically being who you are. So when you hear divine destiny, if it sets your teeth on edge like it does mine, he immediately follows it up by the eternal impulse. Because that sparks in us to know who we are, to recognize each other as who we all are, to know that we're all beloved children of God. And when we treat each other like beloved children of God, then the world just works better. So, I am the mind of God in action. Therefore, I produce only good. What we've got going on here is if I know whose mind I am using, and I use it consciously, which means I will use it carefully, and I will use it righteously, for the good of all, or the good of at least as many as I can, manage, and to the harm of none, then I can produce only good. All right? But it is about being conscious. To this end I was born, and for this I came into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. And that's John 18:37. Go back, read it in context. It could be a statement of Jesus. I suspect it's a statement of Jesus, but I'm not sure. Because Jesus came to teach us who we were. Or who we are. That's what Jesus came to teach. Jesus came to teach love. And Jesus came to teach us that we are beloved children of God. That's really what he came to teach. Go back and read him. The nature of humanity is the nature of God. For it cannot be two, there can only be one. One mind, one law, one life. And we are expressing it the the one life, because we are a creation of it, the one mind, the one God, the one law. We are creations of it. As we begin to think of ourselves in heavenly terms, as we begin to know who we are, a new possibility arises within us. A new possibility, because all things become possible. When we start to think with the mind, then we start to see possibilities that we hadn't before. Because nothing is impossible in God. Nothing. We see that our present mind is God's outlet. We are divine channels, divine distributors. We become aware of a divine destiny for each of us, an eternal impulse within us to think rightly and well. To think rightly and well. So when we know who we are, we naturally think rightly. We naturally think well. We naturally think with love. Because we know we are loved. There's only the one mind, and that mind is our mind now. I mean, how many Science of Mind ministers have you heard say that? Most of us include it somehow in any treatment we do. The mind that we are using to read this page is God's mind, and we are its activity. Now, open quotes, close quote. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. Now, I would say now, beloved, now we are children of God, but it is a quote, so from probably somewhere in the Bible, probably pretty close to John. Ernest doesn't cite sources. Knowing this, knowing that we are beloved children of God, we understand why all thought is creative, because the mind we are using is the mind of God, and the mind of God is creative. And we dedicate our thinking to right ideas. That should set us back on our heels when we are caught in strong emotions. When we are caught in strong emotions, those thoughts are very creative. Are they creating what we want in the world? And I have no idea where the phrase set us back on our heels comes from. I'm going to have to look up that. I use it all the time. Because I know what it means. I just don't know where it came from. We are known by our works, and our works betray our thoughts. Therefore, we must think as the divine mind thinks. Your life reflects your thought, the trend of your thoughts. Your life reflects the trend of your thoughts. So if you don't like how your life is going, then change the trend of your thoughts. And I say the trend because not every thought. Because we all have those moments. We all have those moments where our thoughts just go, and then we go back and go, okay, that's not who I am. Let me fix that. So that's why I say the trend of your thought. You can't beat yourself up for every thought. Okay? But as you practice, what you will find is that your default thoughts, your first response, will become a response, not a reaction. And so the trend of your thought will change. And then you don't have to worry about those little individual niggling thoughts that come in. They just become weeds in the garden. And as you see them crop up, you pluck them out. It happens. Don't beat yourself up about it. All right, so we are into the power statements, the mantras. Feel free to use these words as your own. And if any of them don't resonate with you, feel free to change them. There is only one mind, God, and that mind is my mind now. That mind is your mind now. This mind is thinking through me today. It is thinking through you today. And all our thoughts are creative, producing under the law whatever we select to think. Under the law, which means in alignment with. We can't go crosswise of the law. It produces interesting results when we go crosswise of the law. I choose with joy to think the thoughts of the infinite mind. I let larger and more loving ideas of God be the basis of all my mental work. If the if the loving ideas of God are the basis of our mental work, we can't go wrong. We cannot go wrong. All limitation is now destroyed from my consciousness, for God's mind thinks in me and through me, producing good. I see God everywhere. I see God everywhere. I see in all people. And that's the challenge some days, to see God in people, because we all have those people that make us just absolutely crazy. So your challenge is to see God in them. Now, you're welcome to see God in them from over here. You do not have to get up in their face to see God in them. You can see God in them from over there. Just so you know. I think rightly, love greatly, and bring forth new good in myself and in all whom I meet today. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, and it says it right here, is to choose with joy to think the thoughts of the infinite mind. To think with larger and more loving ideas of God. All the time. All the time. Let that be your default setting. Because the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is the loving, kind, and compassion. And I ask you to do that every day because I want it to be your default setting. I want those larger ideas of a loving God to be your default setting. I want them to be who you are. I want them to be the trend of your thought. Why do I want that? Because I want your life to be good. I want your life to be filled with good and filled with love and filled with just amazing things. And the place that we can both start to get that life is knowing whose mind we're using. Knowing whose mind we're using. And knowing that when we're using this mind, we're using this mind as well. We are allowing our head and heart to work together. All right. So I am going to encourage you to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself every day. Every day. And it doesn't matter how big or small. All it matters is that you do something today for yourself. And you do it again tomorrow. Or you do something different. But the point is, I want it to be something you do every day for yourself. I want you to practice love, to practice kindness, to practice compassion on yourself because you deserve it. You are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased. And I want it to become a permanent habit. And practice is how we get there. I want it to become your default setting. I want you to have that bank of kindness, of love, of compassion for yourself so that when times get a little, you have something to draw on. And you have something to share when you meet those people who may not in the moment remember who they are. All right, beloveds? I also encourage you to engage your mind and your body, whatever that looks like today. I took a wonderful bike ride this morning, even in the 50s. I'm going to have to look into gloves if it gets much colder. Go get that face full of sun. It definitely helped wake me up this morning. Drink plenty of water. Whatever else you do today, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven now. Right here, right now. It is all around us. And the way we find it is to look for the good. To look for the good and praise it. Thank you, Emma. Because the more you look, the more you see. The more you see, the more there is. And that's the way it works. All right, beloveds. I am going to move into the process of my day. It is Friday. The High Mysticism book study is going on. I don't know if I think it's at 6:30. If you're interested in that, email info@creativelife.org. And then take... Oof. Okay, sorry. I got stuff to do and my brother's on the road and coming to get me. So I just need to get off this and get going. So, book study today. And then I will probably do both Saturday and Sunday at night, not in the morning. My brother being in town, we're going to go to the Renaissance Festival both days. So, these won't happen at 9 a.m. But Reverend David should still be on around 5 p.m. with you both days. And then we'll get my YouTube channel updated next week. So check us out on the social medias. Do what you need to do to make it a great day, a fantastic day, an amazing day, a marvelous day, an enchanting day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. All right, beloveds, take care of yourself and know that you're loved. Always. And I will see you next time.